Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. It's your host, Helen Edwards, along with my co-host,
Liddell.
And our special guest, Heather Robinson.
Hi, good afternoon. Yay.
Thanks for coming on with us. We'd love to hear more about you if you want to do a quick bio and introduction to all of our listeners and watchers out there.
Awesome. Let's see, who do I want to be today? As we're talking about being your authentic self, it's like, what mask do I want to wear today? Or what mask do I want to take off? I'm Heather Robinson, and I am sitting in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is just north of Charlotte, a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. And no, for those of you who are listening, no, we are not getting hit by the hurricane, but we are getting the winds. And we're supposed to get rain, but we are praying for everybody, friends and family, and everyone in the path of the hurricane today and last night. I've been checking in with my people and everybody's okay so far. But I am a life coach. I am a Reiki master teacher. I'm a Renaissance woman. It's hard to put me in a box. Or like, don't put baby in the corner. It's hard to explain who I am. And I think to say I'm a Renaissance woman, what I enjoy at this time is I enjoy coaching people to get unstuck, to take back their light and to figure out like, this life isn't working for me anymore. How can I take steps to just feel better, to like myself, to like my people, to not dread getting up every day. And I listened to your podcast from the 26th, and Helen, you were talking about that. Like that was a heavy day in your head on the 26th of like, oop, just don't want to do this today. So I am really good at helping people get unstuck, making a plan and working a plan. I'm also a Reiki master teacher. So for those of you who don't know what Reiki is, it's an energy healing modality. Modality is a word that you'll hear a lot now, synonymous with holistic health or alternative medicine. And so Reiki is an energy healing modality, hands-on healing. If you're in the Bible Belt of America, like I am, it's, you would hear it, we're laying on hands. And essentially for me, I am praying over you the whole time I'm doing Reiki. So I love having Reiki clients and love to teach. That's really my passion. I'm also an author of a book I wrote in 2020 about a season or days, just like the one you said you had on the 26th. Like, okay, I got to take back my life. I've got to do all, I loved the quote that you said, or to quote you, you said, I got to use all my tools. And the tools are things that we know what to do. We know to get up. We need to brush our teeth. We need to have a cup of coffee or a tea, move our body. For those who are into natural health and wellness, maybe you're using essential oils. Maybe you're doing yoga or Kundalini yoga or meditation. Maybe you're doing your daily spiritual practice and I do Jesus Calling. I've loved Sarah Young's products for years and years. And so my meditation also includes that. But it's also about sage and crystals and all the holistic things, the new age that is really ancient age that is more common. So my book, Take Back Your Light, is about that. So I'm an author. I'm a podcaster. I teach art classes to tweens because middle school kids got it really tough. I don't care what century we're in. That's an awkward age. And I do a lot of things. Like I don't know, I'm a Renaissance woman. So that's what I'm doing now. Who knows what I'll be doing next year.
So let me share a little bit about Heather. Heather and I actually met at a program, and it was like a money mindset program, and that's how we met. And ever since then, we just were drawn to each other. So we drawn to each other, and we were following each other's journey last year. And you know, what drew me to her is her light. Actually, she is a light. She's a shiny light, and I'm so thankful that we've reconnected, because you know, life, right? We're not the same as we were last year. This year is completely different. Helen, I'm sure you can attest to that as well. Completely different. So I love our topic. Finding our authentic self, because what is really our authentic self? Like you said earlier, you know, what mask do I want to put on today? So I love that. And so why was that something that was like, that resonated with you? Why did you feel that that was important for us to talk about today?
It's a topic that I've been speaking on a lot in my area, particularly to women's groups. And I feel like it's something, and my throat chakra closes up, because it's like, okay, you're getting ready to tell some truths, and we get a little congested when that energy gets stuck. I work with energy, and it's a topic that I feel is really prevalent right now. Maybe you've heard or seen on TikTok or social media. I don't TikTok. I'm not going to tick and talk. I'm not going to snap and chat. Like I just can't. I can't take on anything else right now. I can't be in those boxes. But when TikTok slides into my Facebook and Instagram, and into the circles I'm in, I hear a lot about the divine feminine. And January, you and I talked about that at one point, that the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and that we're in an era where the divine feminine is coming back. And it's not, we all have masculine and feminine qualities in all of us, whatever our gender, whatever our gender of choice, however we present in the world, we have the qualities of masculine and feminine. Typically in the healer world, your masculine is your right side, your feminine is your left side. I like to think of it as your right side, because the large majority of the planet is right-handed. You're carrying the sword. You are fighting with the right hand, and you shield or you protect with the left. And so the masculine goes out and fights the dragon, fights the T-Rex, fights the woolly mammoth, slays the things. And the female is home, nurturing and protecting the young. So when we're off balance, if you're more of one or not, if you are exerting more masculine, that side of your body may hurt. It's tiring holding up the sword all the time. If you are depleted in your feminine, then you need more self-care. And so whether you are masculine or feminine, it's important to balance. Like it's a time which is beautiful on our planet where men are allowed to have emotions again, or for the first time. And we need to encourage that. And so as we become our authentic selves, our authentic self is who we are when nobody's looking. Like it's who you are. It's who you are that you write in your journal that you are. I'm a big journaler. I can unpack it helps me figure out and ride the waves of my emotions, because I write out whatever's happening to me. And then I look back, 10 days later and go, wow, I was in it. I'm not anymore. But if that season comes again, I remember that this isn't a new feeling. I need to deal with it. There have been times in my life when I've lived with my ex-husband, and for a large portion of my life, and even as a child, I didn't feel comfortable writing in a journal, my heart of hearts, because I was afraid somebody would read it. Like, have you been like that too? Like you couldn't hide it? Yeah, and it sounds crazy to think about that, but I know a lot of women feel that way. Like you're writing it as if you're third person. You're writing it as if you're Mary Higgins Clark, or, instead of writing out the real you. And so as I started journaling, I started realizing, and a lot of it was when January and I met, in this very deep dive on worthiness and deserving. And I started figuring out that I didn't know who I was anymore. I had hit 50. I'm Heather 5.0 now. I'm actually 5.3. But, and I know who people told me to be, but I didn't know who I was anymore. And there are different levels of ourselves. So when I work with Reiki and work with energy, think about who you are when you are birthed to 7 years old. Like, you are just this shiny little ball of light, and you really don't have an ego. You know, like, you just want your needs met. You want to be loved. You want to be cared for. When you cry, you want someone to hold you and pick you up and say, it's okay, it's okay. When you're hungry, you want someone to, do you have enough? When you're wet, you want to be dry. And so when we're little, we just go about, we just get what, you know, what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. I just want to be hugged and loved and excited. And as we grow up in our families and in our schools and in our societies, we learn how to be a little bit less or a little bit more to get along with these people, right? So if you're in a family and maybe you're the big sister or maybe you're the little sister, you figure out pretty quick how to get along with everybody else so you don't get in trouble, so you get your needs met. And you will hear from the people who love you. They'll tell you that you're too much or you're not enough. They'll tell you pretty damn quick, like, oh my gosh, can you just sit down? Could you be, you know, do you have to dance on the hearth every time Hee Haw comes on? Can you please sit down? Like, just, for me, it was, do you have to dance to the intro of Solid Gold? I mean, Solid Gold every week. I'm like, yes, I do. I have to dance because I want to be a Solid Gold dancer. Yes, I do. So you learn if you're too much or you're not enough. Well, then, you know, God forbid you go to middle school, high school, and the people there will tell you really quick who to be. Like, you learn really quick if you are outgoing or if you're an introvert. You learn how to not get your ass kicked on the school bus. Like, you smart off at the wrong person and they will punch you in the eye. True story. On the school bus. And so that authentic self, that little kid who just wants to dance in front of Blue's Clues or Solid Gold or, you know, Soul Train, or I'm so 70s myself right now. You learn to be a little bit less. Maybe you're told, you know, you maybe on, like, if you were like me, on Sundays, our family would get together. We don't do this anymore because we're all spread out, but I enjoyed that. And you would hear the stories about your relatives, and they would tell you the ones who were too much or not enough. And you'd hear like, oh, well, she should have been an accountant because she's so good at math, but no, she chose to do that. Like, they tell us who we are. And that may not be who we want to be. And so that authentic self then becomes your culturally created self. And I want to give you a visual. So I don't know about in Hawaii, but here on the East Coast, the Middle Eastern Seaboard and Middle America, in the autumn, the leaves fall and you rake up leaves. So maybe you're raking up palm leaves, you know, they drop, I don't know. But if you've ever had to rake leaves and you make this beautiful pile of leaves, and they're fun to play in for a while because they're fresh. But if that leaf pile sits outside for a long time and it gets rained on and it gets mushy and nasty. And so it's sort of like that, like we're this perfect little expression of ourselves. We have no filter. We are just, you know, birth to 7 years old. We're just large and in charge. And then the leaves of everybody else's judgment starts getting piled on us. And maybe there's sticks in it, and maybe it's mud, and maybe somebody cleaned up the yard and threw dog poo in it. I don't know. But all these layers get on top of us, and until we don't remember who we are. And when you begin to understand who you are, it's like this little fire lights inside, a little lantern lights inside you again. And that's when it's going to come at different seasons for different people, for men and women. And when it starts whispering to you, it's, I don't like that anymore. That's not me. I don't want to do it. And if you don't speak up, or if you speak up and they don't like what you say, it has to go from a whisper to a scream. And I think that's what happens when women, you know, that culturally created time of, oh Lord, she's having a midlife crisis, she's so hormonal. It's because often for women, we have put up and shut up for so long and been who we needed to be for everybody else. and you hit midlife, and sometimes midlife is 30, 40, but you go like, that's not me anymore. I don't want to do this job anymore. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the people pleaser. And I spoke with a really sweet young lady this week. She's one of my Reiki students, and we're hitting it earlier. We're hitting it earlier and earlier because we're changing our culture, which is beautiful. Social media is helping us do that. But she's young, in her 20s, and she was working a job and relocated with that job. And she's called and said, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do it. I go in the bathroom and cry at work because I feel like I'm doing this just to pay the bills. I have no freedom. And these are 8 hours each day that I don't get back. And if I string those together, that becomes a life. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my years in my 20s of this life. And I said, what would it look like if you didn't do this job? And we made a little plan. And I said, it may not be perfect now, but if you start walking towards your authentic self, you may find her before you have to scream and take her back by hostile and violent means and, blitzkrieg your whole family. And I'm like, what would that look like? Can you pay rent this month? Could you ask for parental support for that? Well, maybe. And I said, could you ask for parental support and withstand the tongue lashing and the backlash that you might get? I'm like, if you can put up with it, then do it, start working towards that. And it's a process, and it's unnerving. And I really resonated with what Helen said on your September 26th podcast, the be here now, or just, what was it? No, be in the now. And we've spent so much time planning for who we're going to be and prepping for that. And we lose ourselves in the now. It's very frustrating and confusing. I'm going to stop for a minute because you're like, yeah, okay.
Okay. So, yes, definitely being in the now. And I like that you, started a plan with somebody that's younger. I do like that because you're right. Social media has definitely changed our culture. I think it's bringing us more awareness in terms of mental care, self-care. I really do think that there's a shift right now for us women, because I think before we would be complacent and we would be okay with whatever came our way, whatever like mask or facade that people wanted to see, that's what we presented, and we kept on living that life. But I think at this point, I think there's a shift, and I think that shift is, no, I'm going to be whoever I want to be. I saw this one image, and it was of a person driving. The quote was something like, you drive your life, you are in the seat, so you can decide, which direction that you want to go. And that was a powerful image for me because, much like what you said this morning, you said, what mask am I going to put on today? I'm going to tell you, we all do it. We all put on that mask. And is it our authentic self? It's our authentic self at that moment. At that moment, we want to be that person because that's what we want to portray to other people at that moment. Now, being our authentic self, really just our authentic self, I honestly, I don't know if people are ready for to be their true authentic self. Why? Because I feel society and family, friends, I don't think that I think we'd be judged. I think we would be judged if we were truly, truly our authentic self. And is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. Why? Because it doesn't matter what they think, right? They'll still judge us. Either way, they'll still judge us. So at the end of the day, for me, I feel it's vital to choose to be truly you. And whether that means the happy you, the sad you, the angry you, just be you. Helen, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. First, I just want to say, Heather, thank you for listening to our show and just kind of filling out who I am. So I feel some acknowledgement there. And listening to you while you're talking about what you're doing out in the world, and then showing your book. I mean, I was just like, wow, that just totally matches what I'm seeing right now. The cover and who you are and who you're representing. By the way, Heather 5.3, you're freaking gorgeous. I was literally thinking to myself, how young is she? Because she's just like, her skin is so nice. I mean, I know it's through video, but I could see a glow in you. That's just absolutely stunning. And somebody who's, now turned 42, I'm always looking for ways to keep my skin refreshed. Something I never did in the past because it was just like, I woke up like that. And now I'm just like, okay, my skin's thirsty. But anyways, I just wanted to tell you how beautiful you were. And as you're sharing about who you are and what you're doing out in the world, my perspective's definitely changed a lot as I've grown. And when I hear you, in the past, I used to, authentically, I used to say, okay, this is my competition in this business world of coaching and author and all these things. And now, since I've gone through a lot of my own work and grief as well, I'm looking at you like, that's my sister. That's my sister out in another part in this earth realm. And she's trying to help those around her and spread her love and spread her light and spread her wisdom, really. And, coming from a background of Spanish and Apache indigenous, it's imperative in our culture for the elder women to teach the younger women. And it's just something that's continually been passed down in my life. And now when I hear it, like you said, new age, I'm just like, you're right. It is definitely ancient wisdom. And for social media, for the younger women out there, because I do a lot of teaching women myself, and I'm constantly trying to let them know, when you seek guidance, seek it from an older woman, who's gone through many things in her life. And that's so important because we're bringing back that wisdom. And what you're doing is you're giving wisdom like it should be given. It's water to the soul. So I felt so much pride, to be honest, because I'm looking at you like my sister in another part where you're helping women. So just wanted to say thank you for that. I do want to ask, where was the turning point for you in stepping into the role that you are as far as a Reiki master now?
Okay, can you see that visual shift? Because my diaphragm just went, ugh. It's like, oh, you gotta say it. Say what you need to say. First, let me resound the sharing the wisdom from the wisdom of age, because we have been told in our society that, and it's the very masculine part of traits, that masculinity is competition and survival of the fittest. When the woman, so your seed will spread, like, yeah. Somebody let me send that to voicemail. Sorry, I had a phone call coming through. And we aren't in competition. We are in support of each other. And the quicker we can understand that, then we all rise together. High tides raise all boats. And I have been really passionate about, I've always loved bringing community together, building women's groups and friends and helping. And I'm at this point in my life, I'm really passionate about that, because if you know I guess it's Celtic, I'm not sure, but the archetype of the maiden, the mother, and the crone, you'll see it as a moon sometimes, like it's a waxing moon, a full moon, and a waning moon. And I may have waxing and waning separate backwards. I always get it backwards. But the maiden is the virgin, the young person, someone who has not had a baby yet, someone who is not a mother. The moon, the mother, is the moon. She is in the fullness of her life. She is in her fertile years. And the fertile years, maybe 20 something to 40 something now. We're having babies later. And then the crone, which, you know, so many people are like, ooh, the crone, like you're an old crone. Like, no, the crone is the wise one. And as you go into menopause, as you are not fertile anymore, which in our society we've been told is you don't have freedoms anymore, like, oh, you're old and that's not cool. And you see that we're shifting, you know, we're totally shifting. There's this whole thing on social media now about the women in their 50s are so badass, like, you know, J-Lo and Julia Roberts and all these women are just rocking it in their 50s. And the crone, the wise one, we're supposed to share these experiences because you can't teach what you haven't lived. I can't teach yoga if I haven't learned how to do yoga. You know, I can't teach someone how to be flexible if I'm not. I can coach them and encourage them, but I can't, from a point of authenticity, say, like I did with my friend this week, like, there are times in my life I wish I had quit that job because I was crying in the bathroom. And I stuck it out. And when you continue to stick it out, you're either going to wreck the ship or they're going to fire you. So head it off at the pass and go get your happy. So I'm happy that we are at a point that we are sharing this wisdom. I've started a women's circle here just in the last week, 2 weeks. And it's women of faith and who also embrace the change, everything we're talking about, changing in our culture. And it's time to do that. And it's women of all age, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s are invited. So yes, we are not in competition. And we've lost that. We don't sit in quilting bees anymore. We don't get together and harvest the food. We don't sit on someone's back porch and put up corn and shell peas and harvest. We're isolated. And if we're isolated, that's why it's so shocking to us when a woman says, yeah, my husband and I are getting divorced, and everybody goes, but you look so happy. Everything was great, because we don't tell anybody. We keep it we are not being authentic. And we're wearing not only masks, but we're wearing lots of hats. So the point that I shifted, there's several points. I don't think we get to one point. It's kind of like running a marathon and you keep passing the water station. I've not run a marathon. I've only done a half, but you know, that was a great experience. Don't ever want to do it again. That was good enough. 13's fine. I'm done. But you keep passing those water stations, and at each water station you assess, can I keep doing this? Are my feet going to fall off? Do I have any more gas in the tank? And maybe you're hurt, maybe you're not, but it's like we're all in it for the race, for the duration. And these pieces of finding your authentic self, it comes over time. There's a book, Ram Dass, who lays down words of wisdom, and there's a beautiful, I'm seeing the pictures, a beautiful image in their book, The Be Here Now. And he says, you cannot make a snake shed its skin 1 minute before it's ready to do so. You can skin, we're in North Carolina, we can skin some animals and eat them, but you can't, it has to will itself to do that. And so, okay, am I going to go here? Yeah, I'm going to go here. Just this week, and I sent January a text today, and I'm like, I think this needs to come up. On the 27th, you were having a existential crisis on the 26th, and mine was on the 27th. And I woke up, and again, it was another level up of, who am I going to be? Like, who am I really walking the walk and talking the talk? And here in my office, my daughter and I, Hannah's a marriage and family therapist, and we were having an open house. We've been in business together for a few months, and not a chamber ribbon cutting, because I don't want to do that, but an open house. And I woke up, and I've been doing events for 30 plus years. That's been my thing. And I woke up and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do this. Like, my mind just rolled. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to put on this hat. I don't feel it today. And maybe I was having a hormonal flash. I don't know, but it was a flash of some sort. And I'm not someone who rages. Like, I have all the emotions. They're my superpower. And I may use them all between now and 5 p.m. Those are our superpowers. One of my ex-fiance would get very frustrated because he didn't have control of his emotions, and they were either no emotion or explosive. And mine, you know, they kind of come and go. And he goes, do you have to be so emotional? And at that minute I went, yes, I do. Like, it's my superpower. And I may use them all before 12 o'clock today. And which scared the hell out of him. And probably is one of the reasons he is now not fiance progressed to significant other, but that's okay. So on Tuesday, I woke up and I sent Hannah a text and I'm like, I don't feel right in my body today. Like, ooh, something's not good. Heads up, I'm going to be coming in hot to set up for this event. And all of a sudden I just like tears and I'm not, it takes a lot for me to cry. I don't cry a lot. And I was just crying. I was angry and I was mad, and I wasn't mad. There was nothing. It was like, where did this come from? It was so weird. And I was anxious and I wanted to run away. Like, it's just like, I just want to get in the car and leave. I don't want to be, it was the strangest thing. And as a healer and a guide, I understand that, okay, I'm just going to have to go through it. I'm going through something. God brought me to it. He'll get me through it. And it better be over by 10 o'clock because I got people coming. So, and I got really mad and I was in my closet trying to figure out what costume I was going to wear today. Like, am I going to show up as hippie Heather? Am I going to show up as, this Heather? Am I going to put on a suit jacket? Like all the things, and nothing fit my personality. I was bigger than everything else that day, not bigger physically fit, but and I'm pulling the clothes out. Never done this in my life, not even as a teenager, throwing it all on the bed, throwing it on the floor, throwing shoes. And then I'm overwhelmed and I texted a friend. She goes, just go through it. Just go through it. So I put on something and I was fine with it. It's like, whatever, who cares? And I show up and I'm putting out the lemon bars and I'm putting out the spa water. And I'm just like, suck it up. Just suck it up. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I got tightened up and got ready for people to come. And to my surprise, I'm laying out the food. And one of my best friends since like elementary school, who lives in another part of the state, walks in my office and he's like, hey girl. And I'm like, oh my God. And I just started crying like again. And he's like, he never sees me cry. He's like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like myself today, but I'm glad you're here. It was thank you for stopping by. Like I needed, and I had sat in the parking lot and I'm like, God, just get me through this. Like send me somebody that just makes my day. And so it was an answered prayer. And he hung out for a few minutes. I'm sure I scared the shit out of him. And I got through and people came. The open house was great. We met a lot of nice people. It was perfect. It was fine. And all day I felt like I was looking at the world through somebody else's eyes. Like it felt like my face stopped here, but the real Heather was back here. And it felt strange. And my daughter could see it on my face. And I'm like, I don't feel right. And someone came and we had to take promotional pictures. And the pictures, I didn't have a light. My pictures look like this. And they're just very, like you see when someone smiles with their mouth and not their eyes. And so I was sitting at the end of the day and Hannah had gone and I'm doing some work. And all of a sudden that fear and anger, like again, came out of nowhere. Like, what is this? And in that moment I went, I felt this before. When have I felt this? Okay. When have I felt this? I'm going to let it just, it's got to come up. It's got to come out. What is it? What is it? And I just started giving Reiki to myself. And I'm like, come out, whatever it is, just give me the knowledge of what it is. And I realized, and a horn is blowing, so my angels are going, go girl, keep saying it, that today, that day was 9/27, September 27th. And it popped up on my Google thing and I went, 9/27, why is that? Oh no. And in that moment, I realized that on 9/27 in 2007, I almost died. And I have forgotten this date. It is not one that you celebrate. And I was a victim of domestic violence. And this is the first time I've talked about this publicly, so you can hear my voice change a little bit. And my ex-husband and I had separated. I had left him and in June, and on the 27th, he burst into my house. I would say broke in, but the door, he came in through the garage and the door is unlocked, and assaulted me and almost strangled me to death. And I can remember in the moment, you think that you can fight, and and women are like, I'll beat somebody's ass. I would tear your face off. I would. But until you have been in that situation, you don't know what trauma response is: fight, flight, fear, or fawn. And I would have given all the money that I have to tell you that I would fight. Like I am Largatha on Vikings. Like I would eat your face off. Like I am, Michonne on Walking Dead. Like I would buy, like I would have thought that was me, and it wasn't. And I could not fight back. And I just remember being held up with my feet dangling above the concrete and being choked, and the lights were going out. Like I could feel myself fainting. And I just thought, this is it. This is it. And in that moment, I knew that my 6-year-old son was inside. And I just thought, what is going to happen if he finds me in a heap on the garage floor? What's going to happen to him? How is he going to survive? How will they tell my daughter? What will happen? I didn't have the fear that he would be hurt. I had the fear that he would be emotionally crushed. And all I could do was wiggle. And I just started wiggling. That's all. I couldn't fight. I couldn't reach. And I just started wiggling, and I wiggled enough to get away. And everything transpired. It got him away from me. And as soon as I walked in the house and locked myself in and called the police and called my friend Lacey and called my parents, and like, I need you, this has just happened. And my son is in the corner rocking, going, you said we were going to go skating. You said we were going to go roll, because we were going roller skating before this happened. We were eating dinner, delicious chicken nuggets and tater tots, American meal, and we were going to go skating. And he's, Mom, can we go now? Can we go now? He was in shock. And I found out later from a therapist that he had come to the garage door and he had seen what was happening, and he was in shock. And I did just like I did this Tuesday in a very different way. And when all that anger and fear and crying, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I get really calm. And I just said, it's okay, baby. I'm fine. I'm bloody. My head is bashed. My neck is bruised. My finger is broken. My clothes are ripped. And I was like, it's okay, baby. It's okay. I'm okay. You're okay. I'm fine. We're fine. Granny and Papa are coming soon. Lacey's going to come. And I just said, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I shoved it down, and I was fine until Tuesday. And in the world that I work in with chakras and moving the trapped energy through your body, there's a beautiful book about it. My daughter shared it with me when she was in grad school. It's called The Body Keeps Score. And it's when we have traumatic episodes, and it doesn't have to be life or death. It could be a horrible heartbreak. It can be the death of a loved one. It can be the death of your pet. But whatever trauma means to you, if we don't process it, if we don't allow ourselves to have those full spectrum emotions and scream and cry and rage and cuss and vomit or whatever, it gets trapped in our bodies, and it shows up later. And it may show up as an organ failure. It may show up as chronic pain, chronic autoimmune. It may show up later as out of the blue on a Tuesday when you're getting ready to get dressed for your open house, which should be really cool and be proud of yourself. You have a complete freaking meltdown because maybe somewhere in this universe, timelines are concurrent, and that's happening on this day now. I don't know. one of my favorite books is A Wrinkle in Time. And I believed in 5th grade that all time is concurrent and everything happens at the same time. And so in my heart of hearts, I can sit with that. But what you don't deal with will find you later. And it doesn't make any sense. I think I was blessed to be able to maybe put those pieces together so that I could help other people when it shows up and they're like, where did that just come from? And since June, I've found myself and a lot of spiritual people. I don't want to say spiritual, but people who are awakening to the mind, body, spirit connection. And just since June, and I know what did they say? A zillion planets are in retrograde. I don't know, whatever it is. It's not an accident that we all are coming to these breakthroughs at the same time. And I think it's got to be cleared. I think before we can really be our authentic self, we have to let go of the people, the culturally created ones of us who said, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And when I get back from the hospital tomorrow morning, we're gonna go skating. And I did. Went to the hospital, came home late, got up late. And the first thing my son said was, Mommy, you said we would go skating. I'm like, get your shoes on, baby, we're going. I don't remember skating. I remember a lot of court for the next 12 months, but I know we did go skating. So yeah, that was my break point of another breaking point of I have to be my authentic self and to address that happened. And it happens every day to a lot of people, and we don't need to put it down. We don't need to shut it down.
Heather, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because that was when I heard it earlier this morning, I'm like, oh my goodness, because I never knew, right? I never knew.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your authentic self, because, even I got emotional, and I got emotional because I can feel, that fear. I can feel like even your son and what your son went through, because I have a 6-year-old myself. I didn't know how old he was, because you didn't mention that when you said that. Yeah. And so that, I think, got to me, because I can see my daughter, kind of rocking as if, your son was rocking. So it was a very heartfelt. That was very heartfelt. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm sorry that you went through that. I do think a lot of women have gone through something similar, but have kept it quiet. Why? Because,
it doesn't, it doesn't fit. And I regret that I said mask earlier, but maybe I don't. It doesn't fit the persona that we have created for ourselves. Like this, I was the VP of marketing for the largest real estate company in Central North Carolina. And that didn't fit with who I had to be to get through the rest of the week. And it didn't fit with, okay, I'm embarrassed. This isn't my life. This doesn't happen to me. And yet my lunch hours were spent with attorneys, and my lunch hours were spent going to Interact, a domestic violence office a few blocks down. And I was embarrassed, like, here I am coming in my Saab 9-3 with my J. Crew pantsuit on, and I'm embarrassed, like, this isn't my life. But it's the breaking of that ego of, it's all our lives. This is our experience. And I regret that it happened. I regret that it happened for my kids. It fundamentally made me a different person. And I don't want to say a regret, because I don't want to say a regret. I hate that life turned out like that, but I wouldn't have experienced the last 15 years. And some of it has been really beautiful, if that had not happened.
Yeah. I think, things happen for a reason, and you're meant to be, kind of what you said earlier. You're that wise person that has gone through all these different experiences. So your experience is something that another person has to hear. another person has to understand and process it through it all. I think the other thing that resonated with me was when you said, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And it's that like, oh, I'm getting emotional, but it's that getting, saying that over and over again. Oh, I'm so sorry. Because we have to be okay.
Yeah.
We're fine. And we're not, and we have to, that whole like female and male, like there is that, I don't want to say struggle because it's not a struggle, but it's that, it's that duality. It's that duality that's inside of us, that one side says I'm fine, the other is like fight or flight, or however the case may be, right? And yeah, I think for us women, we tend to be that person where we say it's fine, we're okay, because we have to be the stronger one for everybody else. We have to, at least that's what I feel, that's what I observe, that as us women, we're put in that role to be strong for our children, to be strong for our husband, and everything's fine, we got this.
Yeah.
And then we have to process. So I think that's one of the main things that you're seeing, is that eventually all of that stuff that's bottled up inside, all that I'm fine, and you're like stacking it, and hiding it, eventually comes out, and you do have to process it. So yeah, woo, you got me, Heather, you got me today.
Yeah, I've
Yes.
been, my son and my daughter and I like a lot of the same TV shows. Like we connect through movies and TV shows, and my son's been, he's 23 now, and he's been like, Mom, you've got to watch Ted Lasso. You've got to watch Ted Lasso. And I have another great friend, Jennifer Deaton, and everything she likes entertainment wise, I do too. And she's like, please watch this show. And so just this month, both of them said, come on, just watch it. And I'm like, fine, I'll watch it. And I've been watching Ted Lasso for the last week. It's on Apple TV. And it's Jason Sudeikis, and it has nothing to do with my life. Like, he is a American football coach who's a soccer coach, hired to be a soccer coach in Europe. And he's overtly positive, like you would say toxic positivity, but it's kind of like Schitt's Creek, where everything is happy and nice in season 1. Like, they're just nice. Everything works out. We're just human. There's no malicious or ill intent. They're just human. And the episode last night there was an interaction with a son and a dad, and it was very explosive. And Ted had been Mr. Happy. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Happy for everybody else, motivational for everyone else, always so up, almost nauseatingly so. He witnessed that, and he had a complete meltdown. He had a panic attack, and he had been having little panic attacks, but he didn't know why. And it finally cracked, and he was talking to the therapist, and he said, he calls and he's like, I don't know why I need to tell you this, but my dad committed suicide when I was 16, and I think this has something to do with that. And so he didn't even realize, like, it had been stuck all this time, just, and season 3 is going to remain to be seen, like what it meant for him. But he was just, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm positive, I'm positive, I'm positive. And he was a super motivational person. And even he had shoved this down. And at a moment that didn't even make sense, he cracks. And there was another episode where, like, at a really happy moment when they're winning, like they're winning, and he had a panic attack and cracked. And so what we shove down has got to be reckoned with at some point. And for some of us who are, 5.3 and 6.3 and 7.3, it's going to be harder for us to scrape off that top layer and get to it. So it's really, I feel like I don't want to say purpose, but it is my passion to help people younger than me not get to the point that they crack, that they don't have to schedule their breakdown. That was a thing in the 80s and 90s, that men would have their midlife crisis at 45 or 50, and women would have to schedule theirs. After everybody got to college and everybody got married, then they would say, okay, it's time for my meltdown. Cuckoo, Mrs. Robinson. hide it in the cupboard with the cupcakes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Well,
I'm fine.
if I may, I'd like to say, well, thank you also, Heather, for sharing that deep, intimate story of the past with us. I know how brave that must have, that shift was for you. And to, when I'm thinking about what you're saying, first of all, fine, the word fine, Mel Robbins says, is one of the most dangerous words, because we all use it when it's not so, it's not authentic, and it's not giving space for other people to be authentic when we use it, right? Especially our kids. I grew up in a very abusive home. My mother was getting beat up by my dad. We watched it. We were getting abused by our father. There's 5 of us. We were that, if you've ever watched Tina Turner's movie, What's Love Got to Do with It? There's a scene in there where the mom wakes the kids up and she's fleeing with them, and the dad, wakes up or that's a different movie. Well, this one, she's fleeing with them on the bus and everything. That was us. She's trying to get us and leave in the middle of the night. And it's one of my most profound memories, because, my dad did get up and he caught us, and 2 of us ended up staying, and 3 of us were able to run across the street, jump in the car. It's just really scary time as a child, and then waking up the next day in a park because, there's nowhere to go, and finding ourselves in numerous homeless shelters. But the thing that resonates with me is what my mom did. She ended up going into a women's battered home. And we, from that point on, as young women, because there's 4 girls and 1 boy, from that point on, we learned about women's circles from a battered women's home. So from a very young age, I was listening to stories of women who were getting beat up, who were being put, lit on fire, who were just being cut with knives, just the most horrendous things. And also seeing the scars, as a young girl, seeing these scars of women and saying, what happened to your face? Because kids don't have a filter. And then the women saying, oh, it's just, and then they try to sugarcoat it, but then I'd hear the stories in the circle. And I just, as a young girl, I'm thinking, guys did that? Men that you stayed with did that? Why would you stay with somebody like that? So I grew up with this very strong mother who's like, don't ever let a man do this. Don't ever, because she was able to get away. And then what you said about you never know what's going to happen when you're in that situation is so true. I was that woman who said, if a man touched me, I'd kick their ass, because, watching my dad beat up my mom, me and actually 1 other of my sisters ended up hitting our boyfriends when we got older, when we were in high school. And I remember the first time I hit my boyfriend, I was like, oh my God, I've got I've got that rage. I don't want to be like that. I didn't want to be like my dad. So then I started changing it. I wouldn't hit anybody. I was really good at restraining myself. But then it was my turn where a guy was starting to hit me, where, I remember I got choked as well. And I thought in my mind, I was going to be fighting back. Instead, I'm like holding their hands and crying. And then afterwards, just being scared shitless, like, oh my God, I'm so scared of them. And it's just this cycle of like humans putting their hands on other humans in a very harmful way. And I just was like, how do I get out of this cycle that I grew up in, and knowing to not get myself in, and here I am in it, so I went through that whole process as well, and started finding people who had an emotional mastery. Emotional mastery is so important to me, because that started defining who I was going to be in my relationships next. Who had emotional mastery, especially when they were going through stressful and hard times? Who were you at that point? I don't care how many flowers you buy me in the beginning, how sweet you are, how much you adore me. I want to see who you are when the shit hits the fan, because that's going to show me how you handle a really hard and, really difficult situation. So I think, for anybody out there listening, it's very brave of you first to tell your story. We do need to tell our stories, because there are women out there who, like you said, they're going through this situation right now, and they think they're going to do this, but they end up doing this, and they end up staying. They keep, it's really interesting how trauma bonding works, because right before I met my fiance now, who I'm with now, was with a narcissist. And narcissist was a very different situation for me because it was very manipulative versus somebody who was abusive, physically abusive. So it was a different style of abuse. And I remember awakening to it and thinking, okay, I have a choice. I can literally stay in this trauma bonding because I could feel it inside. This is the crazy thing. I felt it inside. I felt myself saying, I should stay, I should forgive. And that was such an interesting moment for me because I was like, I've done all this work. I'm Helen Edwards. I'm who I am now. Like, I'm a warrior queen. Like, what is this? We're going to forgive him and stay. And I remember hearing that inside of me. And what you're talking about, Heather, was such a good point about the trauma still lives in our body. It's still there. They are memories and they're collected inside our cells. So they're not going to go away. They're with us for a lifetime because these are the memories that are stored in our body. Think of your body like a file cabinet. Okay. And if we get rid of them, we basically get rid of our memories, and we need our memories because this is the capture moments of our human life. I mean, we need it to flash before our eyes before we die, so, so we got to keep them. But I remember thinking, okay, I have this choice. I could be who I was. I can listen to that trauma bonding. And it was so strong. I mean, as much as I'm an empowered woman this day, that I remember feeling that trauma bonding, just be like, hi. No, like, I was like, okay, I got to get out. And I did what my mom did. I packed all my stuff, jumped in the car, and I left. And he was blowing my phone up. And if people ask me, how did you leave the narcissist? And I literally, it's the way I visualized it was jumping on a very fast train that can't turn around because it's unstoppable. And so, yes, thank you for bringing that up and for sharing your story, because it is so powerful when we do share that. And I know it's your first time publicly doing it, but I really encourage you to keep doing it. So
Yeah.
I hear you, Heather.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. And we could talk till next Thursday about narcissist and narcissistic. In my book, I discuss some of how to take back your light is if you have been in a narcissistic relationship, and I have how to block from that, how to recover from it, how to do energetic cord cutting, and I think that the part about the trauma being trapped in your body, I thought I had processed this, and it was the incident, not the relationship. Like, it's the trauma that was stuck, and that's why I think that it was very different, because I understand the roles that we play as souls in each other's lives. I understand why I chose this person as my partner. I am able to have very fond memories and talk about fond memories and go to graduations together and go to celebrations and be cordial and kind to each other and sit next to each other at football games and plays and ballet recitals, and without being afraid, without being fake, I processed all that. And that's, I think, what was so surprising about the authentic piece was I thought it was done, but the event, the trauma of that fear was not gone, and it showed up. And so, yeah, we are complex, incredible humans. And perhaps, your September 26th was a ripple effect of the fear that was stuck, not the relationship, not seeing the incident, but the pain that was stuck there. So, and let's shift it. We've got to close up. I know you guys have things. So your Sexy Freedom Media, what's the takeaway from this? Because I like to wrap it up, put a bow on it, make it nice. I'm fine. But I think, one, authenticity. We have, there's freedom in the truth. And Gloria Steinem says, the truth will set you free, but it will really piss you off first. And sometimes we think that the piss you off is going to be somebody else, but it'll kind of piss yourself off. Like, yeah, have I carried that? But I think there's authenticity. I think in understanding that we are strong women, and strong because women, like you said, thank you for bringing it up, women abuse too. Women can be violent and vindictive and narcissistic as well. But we are making, with each of these stories that we share, we increase the odds of making a different, better society for our children and our children's children. If we keep it quiet, then we repeat the sins of our mothers and fathers. We put up and shut up. And with, Sexy Freedom, sexy is definitely about being authentic, not just seductive, but being, I love, there's a book I got, my girlfriend gave it to me in the 80s, and it's by Sark, and it's being a succulent wild woman. And like you love her?
I love Sark so much. Definitely one of my favorite all-time books. I actually went and bought 3 more and gave them to 3 women I knew because it was so powerful and it was so cute. I loved it. Yeah.
Yes.
Good choice.
Yeah. And so I think once we, figure out, as we learn who our authentic self is today, what hat or mask or costume we wear, and it's okay to be lots of them. Sometimes I'm Stevie Nicks. Sometimes I'm Diane Keaton. Sometimes I'm, Ellie Mae Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. It just depends. I don't know, but I think that for me, it's when we are a community and when we communicate, we share the stories that aren't going to get lost so that our children live better. So that we elevate the human race. And it's not an individual project, it's a group project.
I am so thankful for you. Thank you. Yes, and that's what Sexy Freedom means to me. I'm so grateful for Helen, because Helen and I met also at another women's, it's a women's group, and it's women's empowering women. And I was drawn to her, just much like I was drawn to you, Heather. There was something about you that was like, oh, she's so shiny. I was gravitating towards you. I'm like, I need to know more about her. And then I saw Helen, and Helen's pictures, like, she is wild and carefree. Like, there is something about her that I need to be a part of. So I'm so thankful to be a part of Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. To me, Sexy Freedom, like you mentioned earlier, it is about using our voice. There's so many various things about being sexy, right? But to me, the most powerful one is to be your authentic self and be able to voice out our own truth. That to me is sexy. Brains are sexy to me. Okay. So brains, I'm like, really smart one that loves books and, very knowledgeable. Oh, that is sexy. So I love the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. We need a shirt, Helen. We need like merch, because I need to wear that. I need to hey, check me out. But I'm so thankful for you, Heather. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Can you let everybody know where we can find you?
Yes. So you can find me at my website is heatherrobinson.live, and you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram at Hey Heather Robinson, or on Facebook at Heather Robinson Healing Arts. So
we'll add that to our show notes so that it'll be on the link.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Helen?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today at Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. I really appreciated Heather Robinson coming on our show, and for January Liddell, my co-host, bringing her on. It's such a good choice. I really enjoyed our topics today because they were so powerful and because they can shed such a bright light to everybody. So go get her book. Can you show us the book one more time, Heather?
Sure.
There we go.
Yep.
Oh,
there we go. Ta-da!
There we go. Yes, take back your light. Yes, please, everybody, take back your light, because if you take back your light, you can shine it more brightly.
That's right. Right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. Follow us, give us a 5-star review, buy us some coffee. We get thirsty. And find all of our links in our show notes. Thanks again for watching and for supporting Sexy Freedom Media Podcast. Have a great day. Ahia.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.